Hi friends, it's so good to see you again. Mrs. Jarman here again so we can finish the book Dinosaurs Before Dark by Mary Pope Osborne. She's the author. And this is the first book of the Magic Treehouse series. And the last time we read, Jack was hiding behind a tree trying to stay safe from the T-Rex. And when we left off, the Pteranodon was gliding overhead. The giant creature was looking at Jack. We don't know what happened. I said, I think maybe, just maybe, he's going to eat Jack. What do you guys think? Let's find out what happens. This is chapter 9, The Amazing Ride. The Amazing Ride? They're not at a theme park. They're not going to Disneyland. I wonder what he's going to ride. Let's find out. The Pteranodon coasted down to the ground. That means that his wings were spread out and he just soared slowly down. He stared at Jack with his bright, alert eyes. What was Jack supposed to do? Climb on? Oh, this is not what I expected. But I'm too heavy, thought Jack. Don't think, just do it. He looked at the Tyrannosaurus Rex. He was starting to come up the hill. His giant teeth were flashing in the sunlight. Okay, don't think, just do it, Jack thought. He put the book in his backpack and then he eased carefully down the Pteranodon's back. He held on tightly. The creature moved forward. He spread out his wings and lifted off the ground. Jack nearly fell off. The Pteranodon steadied himself, then rose high into the sky. Jack looked down. The Tyrannosaurus was chomping at the air and staring up at them. The Pteranodon just glided away. He sailed over the hilltop. He circled over the valley, over all of the nests filled with the babies, over the giant duck-billed dinosaurs, and then the Pteranodon soared out over the plain, over the Triceratops who was grazing in the high grass. It was amazing! It was a miracle. Jack felt like a bird. He felt as light as a feather. The wind was rushing through his hair. The air smelled sweet and fresh. He whooped. He laughed. Jack couldn't believe it. He was riding on the back of an ancient flying reptile. And here's that picture. Oh my goodness, that is so cool. I did not think that Jack was going to ride that dinosaur, but now that I'm showing you this picture, I'm also looking at the front cover, and look what is on the front cover. It's a picture of Jack riding that Pteranodon. We have found the magic page. The magic page is the cover that shows up somewhere inside the book. Man, that gave us a clue before I even started reading the book, and I didn't even notice. I'm wondering if some of you did. Did you notice that? Ooh, some of you did. I was clueless, and that's okay. The Pteranodon sailed over the stream, over the ferns, and over the bushes. When they came to a stop, Jack slid off the creature's back and landed on the ground. Then the Pteranodon took off once again and glided into the sky. Bye, Henry, whispered Jack. Are you okay? Annie shouted from the treehouse. Jack pushed his glasses into place and kept staring up at the Pteranodon. Jack, are you okay? Called Annie. Jack looked up at Annie and he smiled. Thanks for saving my life, he said. That was really fun. Climb up, said Annie. Jack tried to stand. His legs were wobbly. He felt a little dizzy. Hurry, shouted Annie. He's coming! Jack looked around. The Tyrannosaurus was heading straight for him. Jack bolted to the ladder. That means he moved really fast. Bolted means he moved fast. He grabbed the sides and started up. Hurry! Hurry! Screamed Annie. Jack scrambled into the treehouse. He's coming toward the tree! Annie cried. Suddenly, something slammed against the oak tree. The house shook like a leaf. Jack and Annie tumbled into the books. Make a wish, cried Annie. We need the book, the one with the picture of Frog Creek, said Jack. Where is it? Jack pushed the books aside. He had to find that book about Pennsylvania. There it was. He grabbed it and tore through it, looking for the photograph of the Frog Creek woods. He found it. Jack pointed to the picture. I wish we could go home, he shouted. The wind began to moan, softly at first. Hurry! Shouted Jack. The wind picked up. It was whistling now. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Jack closed his eyes and he held on tightly to Annie. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 10. Home Before Dark. Oh, it's just like Dinosaurs Before Dark, Home Before Dark. I wonder if they're going to go home. A bird began to sing. Jack opened his eyes. He was still pointing to the picture of the Frog Creek woods. He peeked out of the window of the treehouse. Outside, he saw the exact same view. We're home, whispered Annie. The woods were lit with golden late afternoon sunlight. The sun was about to set. No time had passed since they'd left. Jack, Annie, called a voice from the distance. That's Mom, said Annie, pointing. Jack saw their mother far away. She was standing in front of their house. She looked very tiny. Annie, Jack, she called. Annie stuck her head out the window and shouted, Coming! Jack still felt dazed. He just stared at Annie. So here they are in the treehouse, and all the way over here is their mom calling for them. In that picture, it doesn't look like the treehouse is that far away. That's amazing how they were able to go back in time. What happened to us? Jack asked. We took a trip inside the magic treehouse, Annie said simply. But it's the same time as when we left, said Jack. Annie shrugged. And how did it take us so far away, said Jack, and so long ago? You just looked at the book and said you wished we could go there, said Annie, and the magic treehouse took us there. But how? Said Jack. And who built this magic treehouse? And who put all the books in here? A magic person, I guess, said Annie. A magic person, thought Jack. Oh, look, I almost completely forgot about this. Jack reached into his pocket and pulled out the gold medallion. Someone lost this back there in Dinosaur Land. Look, there's a letter M on it. Annie's eyes got big and round. Do you think M stands for magic person? She asked. I don't know, said Jack. I just know someone went to that place before us. Jack, Annie, came the distant cry again. Annie poked her head out the window. Coming, she shouted. Jack put the gold medallion back into his pocket. He pulled the dinosaur book out of his backpack and put it back on the shelf with all the other books. Then he and Annie took one last look around the treehouse. Goodbye, house, whispered Annie. Jack slung his backpack over his shoulder and he pointed to the ladder. Annie started to go down. Jack followed. Seconds later, they hopped onto the ground and they started walking out of the woods. No one is ever going to believe our story, said Jack. So let's not tell anyone, said Annie. Dad won't believe it, said Jack. He'll say it was a dream, said Annie. Mom won't believe it, said Jack. She'll say it was pretend. My teacher won't believe it, said Jack. She'll say you're nuts, said Annie. We better not tell anyone, said Jack. I already said that, said Annie. Jack sighed. I'm starting to think I'm not going to believe it myself, he said. They left the woods and started up the road toward their house. As they walked past all the houses on their street, the trip to the dinosaur time did seem more and more like a dream. Only this world and this time seemed real. Jack reached into his pocket. He clasped the gold medallion. He felt the engraving of the letter M. It made Jack's fingers tingle. Jack laughed. Suddenly, he felt very happy. He couldn't explain what had happened today, but he knew for sure that their trip in the magic treehouse had been real. Absolutely real. Tomorrow, Jack said softly, we'll go back to the woods. Of course, said Annie. And we'll climb back up into the treehouse, said Jack. Of course, said Annie. And we'll see what happens next, said Jack. Of course, said Annie. Race you! And they took off together, racing for home. Wow, so they survived. That's amazing. I wanted to show you 2 pictures at the very back of this book. This is part of Jack's journal, and it talks about the Triceratops. Has a picture, a couple of different pictures of it, and it has some labels. So this one is pointing to the neck shield, which is called a frill. And these are pointing to the 3 horns, 1, 2, 3. And this is a beak like a parrot's. So his mouth kind of curves down and is very strong and sharp like a parrot's beak. And it says over on this second page, it says Triceratops. A Triceratops has a face like a scary Halloween mask. It had a beak like a parrot, and it had 3 horns. Paleontologists, those are people who study dinosaurs, say that Triceratops used their horns mostly to fight off other dinosaurs that were trying to eat them. But they also think that sometimes 2 male Triceratops, that means 2 boys, would lock horns and fight each other over a female or a girl. And Triceratops means 3-horned face. So it taught us a little bit more about dinosaurs. All right, my friends, I can't wait to start on Magic Treehouse book number 2, which we'll be starting on the next time I see you. Thank you for listening. I'll see you guys again soon.